This is Councilwoman Baskin representing the beautiful city of Miami Gardens, and I'm so happy to introduce to you all my Save the Arts initiative. And with that, I have birthed Broadway in the Gardens, which will be a beautiful display of all things great via Black theater. Whether it's dance, singing, spoken word, you are definitely in for a treat. Today is a very special day. I am so happy to have with us a true product of the arts in our community, Mr. Troy. How are you today, Troy?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you for
Awesome.
having
And
me.
you look quite fabulous, might I
Thank you.
add.
I heard I was meeting the councilwoman. I had to show up and show out.
And you did.
Thank
You
you so
did that.
much. Thank
Awesome.
you.
So tell me a little bit more about art and how it has impacted your life.
So I know this sounds kind of corny, but I feel like art isn't everything. It's really when you just take a moment to really analyze what it is that you're seeing and like the beauty in nature. Um, so I write poetry.
Okay.
Poetry, lines of poetry come to me any moment of the day. Sometimes it doesn't even make sense, but I write it down anyway. And then like sometimes a month later, that's like the opening line to like one of the best pieces I've ever written. So I think it's really about just taking the time to slow down, smell the roses, and document this journey that we're on.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what it is, a journey. And if more people understood that life is a journey, then we would really have a display of the experiences. And that's what we'll see at Broadway in the Gardens, the experience of the joys and the triumphs, the sorrows, the pain, the resiliency of the African American experience. So that's awesome to hear. Tell me, what was your first introduction to poetry?
Oh, that's a good question. So when I was a kid, I used to love reading. I would read all of the classics, Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer, and there was a poet by the name of Shel Silverstein. And I used to love like how her poems would have these really cool, catchy, rhyming like schemes, and I wanted to kind of write like that.
Okay.
And I don't know, I just fell in love with the idea of taking words and changing just the order of them and the pronunciation and the way that you use them to create this new meaning. I just thought that was really, really interesting. And I remember I was in the third grade. Actually, we had an assignment to write a poem, and I wrote one about my favorite body part, which is my eyes. And it was like submitted, and it actually won a national contest, and it was published in a book.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
impressive.
Thank you. Thank you. It was, at the time, I didn't even think anything of it because, again, I'm like, this is just art. Like, I just wrote a piece. People like it. Great. But looking back, I'm like, oh, like, you're an artist. Like, you've been an artist. Like, it's okay that sometimes you feel afraid to be an artist, but you've always been this, you know?
And that was the birth of your talent.
Yeah.
You first realized,
like pursuing, like, oh, this is what I'm meant to do.
Exactly.
You know, like,
I'm an educator, so I like to ask, did you have a favorite teacher that kind of helped curate that journey for you?
I did have a few, actually. I did have a few. One teacher in particular was Miss Randall. Miss Randall.
What
She was the
school?
one. This was Grand Oaks Park Elementary, and she was actually the one who submitted the poem for the contest. And even when she mentioned like submitting it, I was like, okay, like I don't know what you, but she, she needed permission because we have to sign waivers and stuff.
But at that time, you didn't know how great.
Right. I didn't. In my head, I'm just thinking I did my homework and I got an A. So I mean, I'm not in trouble. So sure, whatever. But then to look back now and understand that this was the genesis, and I feel like it was almost destined to happen at that moment in my life, so that I could stand here now and remember that.
Absolutely.
And understand that this is why I have to keep going, even when I'm afraid, even when I'm scared, even when I'm unsure of what's going to happen. Like, that's the time to do it because you've always done it. So.
Exactly. And I like to hear that because we need more experiences like yours to be an example to the upcoming generation. We have students in schools who don't get the exposure to the arts. They don't have teachers that are interested themselves in teaching how to write poetry or how to write lyrics or understanding lyrics to music. And it takes those experiences from educators as such to be able to impart that into their students And then look at what came out of that. You know, your poem was recognized nationally. Your poem, did you say it was posted in a museum or in a book?
It was printed in a book by a company called Celebrating Communications, and it was during 2004. So I was like 20 years ago, 21 years ago now.
Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah, it was printed in a book. Yeah.
So, do you know anything about the budget cuts to the performing arts industry?
I do actually. I know a little bit because I've actually done some work with Miami, which I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it's a nonprofit that specializes in focusing on poetry and poetry education in schools. And they're nonprofit, so a lot of their funding comes from the government and making sure that they can do everything to the best of their ability and not having it like require them to overcharge participants, because sometimes that is a barrier. But I think that they really do such a great job. They do such a great job of really like teaching poetry and having this approach that feels more personal. You know what I mean? It feels like their heart is in it. Their heart is in this mission that they're doing.
And that's important. Yeah. So the budget cuts have affected more organizations than others, but to some degree, 90% of them have been affected. And so I've created the Save the Arts initiative to bring awareness to that. I also wanted to create a platform to help raise funds for some of the organizations that would suffer from the cutbacks. And then to even give our local talent like yourself an opportunity to display their talent in front of their own community. I feel that in the Black community, we've kind of gotten away from the true essence of theater through dance, through singing, and like really understanding the how much we have imparted into that industry, because we're the creators of so many types of bands. We're the creators of different types of poetry. We're the creators of different types of music.
Harlem Renaissance was not just
something. Did you know that this is the 100th year celebration for the Harlem Renaissance?
I did not. Serendipity.
So what better time to bring Broadway in the Gardens to the largest Black city in South Florida? So I'm so happy to have you. I know you are a poet. Would you mind sharing one of your poems with us today?
One of my poems, sure.
Yeah.
I can share the one that was published.
Okay, sure.
Let's see. I'll do it from memory.
That'd be great.
Let's see. It was My Eyes. My shimmering dark brown eyes glisten as rain slowly slithers between them. Swirling wind rapidly blows against me as I wait for the bright sunshine to rise above the sultry deep blue sky. Yet I walk on in the cold salty water as the ocean's rip current waves push me to shore. And as I sink into a shiver, I wait for the bright sunshine to rise above the sultry deep blue sky.
Wow, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
Like, look how you just got lost in the moment while you were reciting that poem. And how old were you when you wrote that?
I was 7.
7 years old.
I was 7.
7 years old. This is why we have to save the arts. We need to make sure that we are able to continue to create experiences for children, even at the age of 7, because look at the result. And how old are you now?
I'm 29.
29 years old, still working in the arts, still writing poetry. You're even modeling, right? You're everything artsy.
I'm actually in the middle of merging all that together. I'm working on an art collection that's going to merge like abstract portraits that I've taken.
Okay.
And mixing it together with different lines of poetry and making that a collection of art within itself.
Creative.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure that's never been done before. Very creative. I encourage you all to come out to Broadway in the Gardens on February 21st at 7:00 p.m. to see a display of all things great, all things theater, all things art, even like Mr. Troy over here. I know Troy will be there, right?
Of course.
Front and center, I'm sure.
I'm so excited. And we have to say, speaking of Broadway in Miami, like Cynthia Erivo killed her performance in Wicked. And I'm so excited that people are really beginning to understand that, like, theater is such, I mean, it's not exclusively black, but come on, like it's really, really, it's about being expressive, like
Mhm.
being able to embody that kind of freedom on stage as a performer. Like
Absolutely.
that in itself was the rebellious spirit of live theater,
Exactly.
and I
Yep.
love that so much that people are
Mhm.
understanding. Like black people have been at the helm of this. Let's keep that in
Let's
mind.
keep it
Let's show
going.
respect.
Because, like as you mentioned, we weren't always able to display
Yeah.
art. We weren't always given the opportunities to sing on stage, to dance on
We weren't
stage,
even
to
able to
display
attend
our art, to
sometimes.
attend.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
That's a very important fact.
We weren't even think about it. Like art is literally what helps the world go round. And so where that we're
Mhm.
able, it gives us a safe way to express ourselves. Right?
Absolutely.
If people don't have a safe way to express themselves, they start resorting to other means to express
Oh
themselves
yeah.
that are not safe.
Oh yeah.
Art literally saves life
Yeah.
because there are a lot of people who could be out doing some extracurricular activities and instead they're at home with a paintbrush getting their rage out on a
Absolutely.
canvas, which is where it should be happening,
Mhm.
where it could be productive and that pain has a purpose even
Right.
greater than whatever it is that they're going through. Our
Absolutely.
greatest purpose is to remind other people that they are not alone. Everything that we're going through, other people are going through the same thing, and we're all here to help each other, to support each other, and to know that it can be easy for you. There can be other people in your corner.
Right. I
I'm
always
sorry,
say
I'm
that whenever
sorry.
whenever we're going through things, I say it's not just about us and just I'm going through something and I'm struggling with this. It's for us, number one, to get through it by however means whatever your faith may be.
Yeah.
If you're a prayer, if you believe in some type of higher being, you get through it. And then most importantly, we have to turn around and help somebody else.
Yeah.
So it's a journey that is not just about us, but it's about everybody in the universe reaching back to help each other. And what better way to do it than through art?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
So I look forward to seeing you on
Thank
February
you so
21st, Troy.
much.
Thank you
Thank
for taking the
you.
time and coming out
Of
to chat with
course. Thank
me.
you so much for having me. I'm so
Alright.
excited. And I want to say thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for using your platform to spread light and awareness on an issue that
of
is so
course.
pressing that a lot of people just overlook.
Of
Because the
course.
reason why the system says like that is because nobody speaks up and stands up. So thank you for being
Oh,
there.
thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate that. Thank you. Take
Thank
care.
you.